My name is Nakaya. I'm 15 years old and I'm representing Team Free Right, and the name of my poem is Freedom. Why you wanna fly, blackbird? You ain't ever gonna fly. Freedom is what we need. Life is real, it's not a dream. Why can't they just set us free? Locking us up doesn't make us weak. Why you wanna fly, blackbird? You ain't ever gonna fly. No place big enough for holding all the tears you're gonna cry. I wanna be free, I wanna be me, I wanna be whole. 'Cause your mama's name was lonely and your daddy's name was pain, and they called you Little Sorrow 'cause you never love again. How can they keep me? I wanna feel the breeze, I'm gonna be strong. You ain't got no one to hold you. You ain't got no one to care. If you only understand it, nobody wants you anywhere. Locking us up makes us stronger. We want to be treated fairly. We want justice. We want our broken wings to fly again. So why you wanna fly, blackbird? You ain't ever gonna fly. Why you wanna fly, blackbird? You ain't ever gonna fly. Thank you.
Okay, let's give a round of applause for Nakaya. I know that you guys are all on mute and you probably can't, or I won't be able to hear you. We won't be able to hear each other, but we got, I think, little emojis, so we can put like little hand claps. But yeah, today I wanted to talk about, and we're going to present about the governor's announcement. I don't know if everybody's familiar, or maybe those are on the call that are familiar, but the governor just released a plan to open up an additional secure lock facility in Illinois. And the governor claims that this Illinois Youth Center will be life affirming, restorative, rehabilitative, and community based. And, here we're going to look closer at the language to see, what will all be inside this facility. IYCs, or Illinois Youth Centers, is the name given by the administration to youth prisons. These IYC facilities are notorious for inhumane conditions, violence perpetrated by staff who are supposed to protect and care for the vulnerable youth. In the report published by the Child and Family Justice Center, an incarcerated youth person described the conditions at IYC St. Charles as a facility which still has not been closed by the Pritzker administration. People get beat up every day. We can't ever get clean because there's mold dropping on us, mice crawling in your bed. We wake up in the mornings and have bad food, but at least we don't have lice anymore. There is nothing youthful about these youth centers, and there are prisons just like every other prison. Within the plan, the governor and everybody else tries to say that this youth center will be like more community based and help like within the areas that it's being built in, which is in Lincoln, Illinois. That is a population roughly of 14,000 people with a demographic that is 91% white. The town lies 60 miles west of Urbana-Champaign and 45 miles southeast of Peoria. The two cities in central Illinois that send the most youth to IDJJ facilities. Over 70% of the youth who are incarcerated at IDJJ are Black youth. Thus, what the governor plans tell us is that separating mostly Black youth from their families and sending them to overwhelmingly white prison towns, which are 50 miles away from their home, is a community-based solution to harm, which is not correct. But on our next slide, we see here that these sites, which they plan to renovate and create to IYC Lincoln, was formerly a Lincoln Developmental Center, a youth mental asylum with a long history of punishment and abuse. Lincoln, if you guys aren't aware, is home to 2 adult state prisons, Lincoln and Logan Correctional Centers. Who will IDJJ hire to look after the youth at this Lincoln facility? One may ask. How many IDOC prison guards with a history of abuse and incarcerating adults will apply for the transfer at this new facility? Will Lincoln really separate itself from the rest of the IYCs with a trauma-informed staff, or will it replicate abuse in brutal fashion by hiring IDOC guards to police, surveil, and punish vulnerable youth? Okay, economic benefits. A reason given by the administration for placement of this facility in Lincoln is the economic benefits it will bring to the surrounding communities. What does this mean? It means that a reason for this plan is to profit off of the vulnerable youth of Illinois, to provide jobs and money to overwhelmingly white communities for separating mostly Black youth from their families. And yeah, these are just all like, straight facts. So I just wanted to add that personally. Illinois is spending over $21 million to renovate LDC and build facilities which will operate as IYC Lincoln. This press release claims that the facility will incarcerate no more than 30 youth, which means that roughly $700,000 per incarcerated youth will be spent on the construction of a new prison miles away from home. Imagine how we can better allocate $21 million to help those who are struggling with housing, education, comprehensive mental health resources, or give it to organizations doing harm reduction, restorative justice, and reentry support. Before I continue, I wanted to also kind of elaborate that I was a part of a project with the Child and Justice Family Center where we went back inside these locked facilities and actually got the voices of the incarcerated youth themselves, which we then asked them like, hey, if we could take this big pot of money that's being spent on you every year to house you, and what would you want to do with that? And how could you give back to your own communities, or how could it have been a really beneficial in your own life, in your homes, and your families, and communities around you? And definitely we got a lot of answers for you could create these places, some of these prisons are pretty massive. You can house a lot of youth, but also there's not much rec going on, and young people are looking for job training, learning how to do trades, more college resources with different things they can tap into. And that's some of the things that they were saying that they think we should use the money on. And I think it's important to understand these are the people who are most affected by this system. And so it's pretty powerful to hear them say all the great resources they would bring for housing, because some of them are homeless, dealing with, extra, unsafe communities and things like that. And we had a chance to, spend $21 million, and we created another youth facility. So I want to leave you there with that. Okay, and now we'll all break out into breakout groups to kind of further discuss this plan, where you guys are siding, what's on your mind about it. So yeah, I'll pass it off. We'll begin creating breakout rooms. I think everybody has exited all the breakout rooms. I hope. I think so. If I'm not right, somebody correct me. Say me no, everybody's not back yet. But I think it's a safe bet to say that everybody's exited the breakout rooms. All right. Before we close out, I just wanted to say thank you guys for building with your small groups. I just had a pretty good conversation with my group with Zoe facilitating. I appreciate that. And I was gonna say, if one person from each group could maybe share back something that stood with them or was pretty profound, or maybe just something they wanted to share with the greater group that was discussed in their personal groups. And I will nominate somebody from my group to lead off. And if nobody does, I will.
I think one of the best points made in our discussion group was how manipulative the language was used in him announcing that we're going to build a new prison, really like trying to trick us into thinking that it is going to be community based and it's going to be good for the kids and the communities. It's going to be rehabilitative, but really it's going to be none of those things.
Thank you, Zoe. Does anybody from the other group wanna share?
So in my group, we also talked about like how the language is being like twisted and manipulative. Like they're using a lot of like restorative or abolitionist language to further their agenda. And we also like talked a lot about how like it's very important for the resources that are um, should be taken away from these prisons and put into the communities so that their needs are met. Yeah.
That was a really, really dope point. Like, did they low key just stole our language? Like, hijack all the restorative justice, like, language? Because a lot of, like, I feel like what they do is try to make people feel like safer by saying these things and on like face value. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could read the governor's plan for this new facility and be like, hey, it sounds really great and it's going to help out people and keep families closer. But like a point that was brought up within my group was like, you're putting a now an additional prison within a town that already has two prisons, one for adult females and one for adult males. And now you just created a youth facility. So like think about all those different, like just the aspect of like, having like a young person like grew up in a town and he's like riding to school or going to school and like just seeing all these prisons everywhere and then like, it's like really it feels like really trapped in and like oppressive and um it doesn't do what like, they say they should do, but it's sad and it just like gives me more of like a motivation to like try to like close these places down like for sure. Like I've personally spent time in a number of different facilities within Illinois, been removed like because I'm from Chicago and been brought all the way to like different parts of Illinois and my family doesn't like have a car, so like they didn't care about transportation. So like do you think I'm out now and I've been out for like what a year or so now, like, and they didn't care then. Do you think like today they're like, oh yeah, we're creating this new facility and we really care about like keeping families like closer together now? It's like bullshit, you know what I'm saying? So we got to call them on it and stay on our actions towards trying to close these places and like just further our cause and our efforts. But yeah, I've been talking a lot. So any other groups wanted to just share back something that was like pretty profound with them or stood out to them? Let's see your hand raised. Do we gotta unmute people or no? Can you guys unmute yourselves or no? Okay, my bad. I thought you raised your hand. Yeah, follow us on Twitter. Like Jay said, we trying to grow our like Twitter based following. Like all the support and love we can get from y'all is the best. Any retweets and all that good stuff. Um, anybody else want to share anything like India's group or Jay's group? Okay, to close out, I was gonna do my own thing, but I was gonna say um I was gonna do like kind of more of like a community based, everyone like get a part of it type thing. Cause like when I started off, I realized I didn't like, and usually in my own groups that I hold, I always go around and like everyone introduce their name or their pronouns and like we'll do like a check-in question. But since I didn't do it at the beginning, I was thinking we could do it on the end to kind of close out. And so you can just say your name on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feeling? Oh yeah, I forgot. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. Because I'm right here like going too fast. I'm a little nervous. But I think do I pass to somebody? I'm sorry, guys. Do I pass to somebody else? Or we go to intermission? Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Emma, for giving me that.
No, Denzel's right.
I just have a short little presentation I'm going to share real quick, and Zoe's going to share the screen, and then we're going to have a soft close, and we have some stuff that you guys can post on social media, and we have like a little outline if you guys want to send a Valentine card to Liberation Library, and they can get it to some incarcerated youth. So, yep. So yeah, this is just going to be basically our last thing, but thank you everybody so much for coming. I'm just going to be talking a little bit about love, some stuff for LDC, and the Valentine cards. So when we talk about abolition, what most people usually think is that we are saying, get rid of everything, get rid of it all. But it's important that when we have conversations about abolition, it's as much about building as it is getting rid of stuff. So when we define abolition to others, people may not pick up on that, and we should really emphasize that. And really just emphasize that we are working to meet people's needs. So I'm going to try to keep it short because I know we only have 15 minutes, and I really want you guys to be able to make cards if you want. But my main point here is that as much hatred and anger that we hold towards racial capitalism, imperialism, the PIC, we should also hold a great love for creating a world where we can make people's lives better. So when we're looking at the PIC, we want to be able to recognize the material conditions that led to someone's incarceration itself, and then what happens to someone after they're no longer incarcerated. We have to be aware of all three of these things because they are related, and to fight against the systems that separate us from the people that we love, we're going to have to expand our collective struggle. Abolishing the PIC doesn't just mean simply getting rid of every single prison. Abolition is a strategy for all social justice work, and prisons are just one barrier to creating safer communities. So as abolitionists, we must be able to explain why we are opposed to PIC as a whole, and we can do this by explaining the link between the PIC and other struggles. When we bring people together in our collective struggle, we are able to work more effectively. So I'm just going to go through a few basic areas of social justice that connects to the PIC and kind of reinforce the idea that it's necessary for us to work together with these other groups when trying to tackle these issues. And also I linked the Critical Resistance Abolition Organizing Toolkit, which goes into more depth about these topics. So also keep in mind intersectionality for all of these topics and how these issues are very different, especially for disabled people, undocumented folks, and especially Black trans women.
Hey, India. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to let you know and everybody else know that a lot of times we end up blocking off until 4:30 if we need to. So don't feel like, I mean, I don't know what people's time are if they want to stay on, but don't feel like you need to fly through the slides or anything. I think that this information is really great.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. So I guess, okay, the first social justice topic we're going to touch on is homelessness. And so the prison industrial complex, it is propped up by homelessness. Homeless people, they face an immense amount of criminalization because they're forced to sleep, cook, use a bathroom, and store their belongings in public. And it's difficult for homeless people to meet the basic expectations to keep a job. And for example, if you're a tourist and let's say you're napping in a park, you're hanging out with your friends, you guys fall asleep, you likely won't be arrested or like noticed even. But if you're a homeless person and you're napping in the same park on a piece of cardboard or a bench, you will be targeted and by police and you will be punished. And so our society uses police, prisons, and courts to punish the existence of homeless people. So if you know someone who is an advocate for ending homelessness, explain to them the link between homelessness and the PIC. Abolition of the PIC advocates for meeting people's basic needs and ensuring their safety in their own communities. So these values should align with people who want to end homelessness in their own communities. And so next I want to touch on marginalized genders and sexualities. If you're LGBTQ+, you already face higher surveillance and repression. You're at a higher risk of violence, whether it be in your own home or simply walking on the street. And if you're incarcerated, you face further abuse and discrimination. So it's important when we try to bring people in who organize around marginalized genders and sexualities that we connect it to abolition in the sense that abolition would mean putting an end to tracking people's bodies and their behavior based on gender and sexuality. And so next is healthcare. We know that PIC gets in the way of people getting their most basic needs met. Incarcerated folks do not receive healthcare, adequate food, safe shelter, and anything that would actually make their life safer and healthier. So as we see an increase in people organizing around Medicare for all in the pandemic, this is a good opportunity to link these ideas to abolition. Some of the main reasons that people don't have healthcare are some of the very same factors that put people at risk of being locked up. So when we stop using punishment as a response to human insecurity, we can begin to prioritize basic needs like healthcare. And it is incredibly difficult for incarcerated folks to receive medical attention, and they face other challenges as well. They may not able they may not be able to receive medication due to guards or doctors. And so we have to really let people know, like, if you don't need Medicare for all people, let them know that healthcare is a prison abolition issue. Next is mental health. So in this past year, we've seen an uptake in general education about mental health. Gen Z, particularly through social media, seems to have more open conversations around mental health and trauma. It does seem like mental health awareness is fairly common among younger people, as we often see relatable jokes about depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And while it does seem like we're having more accepting conversations about mental health, we also have to make sure that we talk about mental illnesses that are stigmatized and criminalized. When looking at mental health and the PIC, it's important to remember that mental health problems can be a sign that people's other health needs are not being met. When we're looking at mental illness in our own community and looking to support others, it is irresponsible to let some people fend for themselves and lock them up. Through abolition, we seek to create new options without punishing people for their illness. Care for each person should be based on that individual and what will work for them. The way that we respond to mental illness right now makes it more likely that people will come into contact with the prison industrial complex in the first place. Mental illness makes it harder to hold a job, and it can lead to rejection by your friends and your family. And a common result is homelessness from this. So these all connect to the PIC, and we know that incarcerated folks face additional trauma from their incarceration, and we know that prisons make mental illness worse. So when you hear someone talking about mental health, bring up abolition and make sure that they don't say, oh, well, mentally ill people should go to a mental hospital, because we know that mental hospitals are not good places. They're not the answer because they are punitive and they uphold the PIC as well. They deny freedom of movement, they isolate people, and they don't use individualized problem setting, and they are not emotionally safe or offer personalized counseling. Next is schools. Everyone is familiar with the school to prison pipeline, and we know that every parent wants the best education possible for their child. And basically, if we took all the money out of the prison budget and we put it into schools, our problems still would not be solved. Schools fail young marginalized students in a lot of ways. One way they do succeed is in punishing and disciplining young people and pushing them into state institutions. As abolitionists, we need to prevent schools from supporting, maintaining the PIC. So if you know people organizing around safer schools, let them know that schools with cops, metal detectors, and zero tolerance policies for fighting and drugs are creating conditions similar to prisons and jails. Due to the pandemic, lots of colleges have gotten rid of their standardized testing requirements. And so abolitionists should help people understand that we should also be getting rid of high school exit exams that disproportionately label some students as failures and push students into poverty and prison. And if you have the opportunity, also work against the MIC military industrial complex and work to get military recruiters out of schools as they target Black and brown kids. So the last point of activism I'm going to touch on is organizing around environmental racism. Of course, we want to get rid of prisons simply because they are harmful, but we can bring environmental people in when we tie environmental racism and the PIC together. Environmental racism can mean not enforcing environmental laws when people of color are the only ones who are harmed. And so communities of color and poor communities suffer an unfair number of environmentally destructive land uses that take away from the community and don't give back. While as abolitionists, we recognize that prisons harm the communities that prisoners come from, we want environmental activists to understand that prisons are environmental and social disasters for the towns where prisons are built as well. Abolishing the PIC means building communities that have the power to decide how their resources are best used. Also, we can shed light on the land back movement and use this as an opportunity to give Indigenous people control over the land because we acknowledge that this is our land. So abolishing the PIC, environmental racism, and land back can go hand in hand if we help people make these connections. So yeah, so if you have the materials and you have the time, you can make a Valentine to send to Liberation Library. I have the address on the next slide. And so here's just some tips from American Friends Service Committee that you should kind of abide by. And I don't think you can use glue, stickers, or tape. And I'm not sure about markers and crayon, but I would say pen and pencil just to be safe. And then next slide. So yeah, that's the address. And then also, if you click that link, you can get the blank template and you can kind of put your own personal message and you can tag Governor Pritzker on social media and kind of say your thoughts about LDC. So I have an example one on the next slide. So here's mine. I'm gonna post that and use the tag Stop LDC and No New Prisons. Yeah, I can put the link in the chat. But basically, if you click on the link, you can save it to your phone. You can use Snapchat or Instagram and add your own text. And you can post it and tag Governor Pritzker and let him know your thoughts. So that's about it. And yeah, we're just gonna have a soft close, stay and make cards if you want, and stay and make memes, but I think that is about it.
Yeah. I guess I could lead in the soft close if y'all want. But I before I did start, I just wanted to say like I'm just incredibly ecstatic with like all the information that you just gave us, India, and I love how you put like the linkages between everything, so it like really tied everything clearly together, like in my mind, and I hope others as well. Like I ain't gonna lie, like that was a really, 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 really dope presentation. Like, and for everybody to know, like I wasn't around when India was doing this all like herself and everything, so like this was like just really amazing for me too. So you're getting a lot of amazing feedback in the chat. But to close though, I just say your name, pronoun, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feeling after this presentation, and what is one thing that just stuck with you more so than anything. And I'll start off. My name is Denzel, he, him pronouns. I'm on a scale of 1 to 10. I felt like a 10 after that amazing presentation by India. And something that just really stuck out to me is just like it was a lot of number of different things. I've been kind of thinking about this for a while now, but it probably would, I would say, like the linkage between like the prison industrial complex, the environment, education, resources, and really just trying to like relocate like this money that's being so much like spent just funneled into like prisons, and like putting that like reversing that and putting it into the communities, and stop pulling and closing school, like just different things. So once again, thank you again, India, and I'll pass it to Jay, and after you finish you can pass it to someone who hasn't gone.
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Jay, he, him pronouns. I feel good. India did an amazing job. Denzel, you did too. Very informational event. Loved every minute of it. Like my group too. Everyone in my group did amazing. Very interesting conversation too. What else? Am I missing anything? Did I miss anything? No. Okay, another thing I wanted to add. Yes, everyone pick one person to send something to. Some people won't stay in their years and never receive anything from family members. So you never know what something like simple as writing a small letter could do for someone. So yeah. And also follow us on all social media. And I'll pass it to Sydney.
Thanks, Jay. I'm Sydney, she, her. feeling like a 10. Like I'm really appreciated Denzel in India. Like your work on this is always very inspiring and impressive. And I think just seeing how everything is all laid out and connected is kind of wild every time you understand just how big and insidious this is, but it's also very heartening to like see the work that organizers have done like for all of these different like subsections, and then to be here with everyone like fighting together and learning more together. It's nice. And I will pass to Sochil.
Thank you, Sydney. My name is Ochil, she, they. What was the thing? I'm feeling 10. I'm pretty solid. I'm excited. Thank you all for so much information and links and all the things that I'll be posting on social media shortly. I think one thing that kind of continues to stick out is just the lack of recognizing of people's humanity, especially thinking about prisons and all of the different systems of oppression that are interlocked, as India kind of pointed out. So I think it's just that piece, but finding spaces where people are constantly doing the work and moving forward despite it feeling or seeming very overwhelming. So I think this just gives me a lot of hope, radical hope too, that things will go well. So thank you all. So I'll pass it on to Sophie.
Thanks, Sophie, she, her. Yeah, definitely feeling good. So appreciate all the content that's been shared, and yeah, just like kind of renewing my energy and like talking to like just really appreciating how India, you broke it down, like connecting abolition to these other issues where like I feel like I have some friends who are like very Medicare for all or like very environmental. I'm just like excited to, I mean, I talked to them about abolition, but like, trying to make those connections clear. So thank you. And, just hoping to support down the road. And thank you for all the work you're doing. I will pass it to Zoe.
Hello, she, her. I'm feeling pretty great. I really enjoyed today's event. Thank you, Denzel and India, for having such wonderful presentations. And looking forward, and thank you for the meme template. I thought that was pretty cute and funny. And I'm really feeling hopeful right now. Thankful to have this space, and I'm looking forward. And I'll pass it to Stephanie.
Hey everybody, Stephanie, she, her. Sorry for not having my camera on today. I am always so happy on a Final Five Friday. This is like amazing to get all this information and meet all you wonderful people. India, that was just fantastic. And Denzel, really great job holding it all together. And I am really pleased. I think one thing that really stood out to me, always stands out to me every time I hear it, because it's hard for me sometimes, is that it's about building and it's about love. Because it's really easy to, I'm a pessimist by nature, and it's easy to spot all the problems and point out the flaws. But it's really, the work really is in building and in loving. And I really appreciated hearing that today. I will pass to Alejandra.
Hello, I'm Alejandra. I use she, her pronouns. I'm feeling like a 10. This is really cool. Thank you for inviting me into this space. And I also like to go off Stephanie. The biggest part that like stood out to me was how much we forget about like abolition being about like building and love, because we just live in a system that is the complete opposite of it. So but yeah, thank you, India, for the amazing presentation. Thank you, everyone else. Thank you, Jay. because I was in his group. So. I will pass it off to Natasha.
Hi everyone, my name's Natasha. I use she, her, they, them pronouns. Yeah, I loved being in India's group. I really appreciate Denzel and Jay's input, and just everyone else on the call. Really great energy. Definitely feeling like a 10. Already thinking of a little poem for my meme. Sending it to other people. I'm like been texting and like make a poem right now to people that I know are also mad at this. So it's just great to get people mad and get people up and at them. I will pass. Who hasn't gone? Can you raise your hand? I think we're good. Am I gone? Oh, India. Yay.
Hi, India, she, her. I'm feeling like a 10. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm glad people like the little meme. Please post it and share it and make witty poems. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. And thank you, Denzel. Yeah, I'll pass it to Amber.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, also feeling good, feeling appreciative of everyone like across the world fighting against all of the bad stuff, and of course frustrated at the same time. But yeah, thank you again for especially that presentation at the end there. And was that everyone, or is there anyone else who didn't get it?
I think that's everybody.
See?
I think that's everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy your week, and I hope your Valentine cards are great.